Have you ever thought about what it would be like if everything humanity knew was stored in just one place? I'm talking every discovery, every philosophy, every piece of art. Well, today, we're diving into the almost mythical story of a place that was exactly that, and the incredible mystery of how it all just vanished.
And you've got to understand, this wasn't just some library. For centuries, this was the library. It was the intellectual heartbeat of the entire ancient world. Everything from star charts that map the heavens to the plays of geniuses whose names we'll never even know. It was all there.
Right. And the story that we've all heard is that it was destroyed in one single catastrophic fire, a deliberate act that basically threw the world into a dark age. It's a really powerful, tragic story. But as we're about to find out, it's not exactly the whole story.
So, to really get to the bottom of this mystery, we first need to understand the sheer scale of what was lost. Because this wasn't just about a bunch of old scrolls. It was about a revolutionary idea.
Okay, so the Great Library of Alexandria was founded in Egypt way back around the 3rd century BC. But it was so much more than a place to store things. It was a buzzing research institution. Think of it like this. It was the ancient world's Google and its greatest university, all rolled into one incredible center for learning.
I mean, the scale here is just mind-boggling. We're talking an estimated 500,000 scrolls. And this wasn't just copies of books. This was the original work of Plato and Aristotle, the actual foundational text on geometry, stuff we still use today. Not to mention star charts that were mapping the cosmos, incredible medical knowledge, lost histories. It was a complete snapshot of all of humanity's genius up to that point.
Which, of course, brings us to the legend. You know, the simple, dramatic story of one great fire. One single moment, probably one bad guy, where all of that knowledge just went up in smoke. It's a story that has absolutely captivated people for centuries.
And this is really at the heart of the myth, isn't it? It frames the whole thing as this malicious act, a conspiracy to literally erase history. It sends us on a hunt for a culprit, someone we can point to and blame for this enormous loss.
So, all right, who are the prime suspects in this epic historical whodunit? Well, over the centuries, the blame has been pointed at a few key figures and major events. Yeah, the thing is, this case isn't simple at all, because the destruction happened over a really, really long time. The first big hit was way back in 48 BCE. A fire set by Julius Caesar's own army accidentally spread from the harbor. Then, you fast forward a few centuries, and Emperor Aurelian's invasion just completely wrecked the entire district where the library was. And maybe the final, most deliberate blow came in 391 CE, when a Christian patriarch named Theophilus ordered the total destruction of the Serapeum, which was like a sister library. Each one of these events was absolutely devastating.
So it seems like an open and shut case, right? You've got a series of violent attacks that just sealed the library's fate. But what if that story, the one with all the fire and drama, is just that, a story?
You see, the real truth is way less dramatic, but in a lot of ways it's a much more powerful and, well, a more cautionary tale. The Great Library didn't really die in a single roaring blaze. It just faded away.
So let's just lay it out. Myth versus reality. The myth gives us this simple tragedy with a clear villain, but the reality, it's way more complicated. It was a slow, painful decline that stretched over 700 years. It wasn't one single act of murder. It was a death by 1,000 cuts. It was a case of fatal neglect. Because the real culprits, as it turns out, were a lot more mundane. As political rulers changed, the funding just dried up. You had a brain drain, where all the best scholars packed up and left for places like Rome. The city of Alexandria itself was constantly dealing with unrest. And crucially, the culture started to shift. People began to devalue the kind of pagan and scientific knowledge the library was famous for. You add all that to the simple, slow decay of papyrus scrolls, and you've got the perfect storm for a silent erasure.
So why are we even talking about an ancient library today? Well, because its story holds this incredibly powerful lesson about just how fragile knowledge really is, and how easily it can be lost, even in our modern world. And that is the real lesson here. Fire is dramatic, sure, but apathy is way more dangerous. The story of Alexandria proves that knowledge isn't some permanent thing that just exists forever. No, it's a living thing. It needs care, it needs funding, and it needs protection. It needs a society that actually values it. And when we stop caring, it just disappears.
And that leaves us with a final, and I think pretty vital question.
In our age of digital archives and just constant information overload, it's really easy to feel like our knowledge is safe. But is it? When we underfund our institutions, or when we ignore inconvenient truths, or even when we just let valuable information slowly decay in outdated formats, what great libraries are we, right now, allowing to suffer their own slow and silent death?